it's time for fitting in a shim onto the dovetail. And what I do is I just use gel super glue, and I've only done one side so far, and it seems to be holding up pretty good. Okay, got the piece of carbon paper here. Clamp the neck fairly tight so it makes an impression on the paper. Pull it out and see where the markings are, see where I can take a little wood off of that. I have a few tools for that. I got a little micro chisel. A little whittling knife. Sandpaper. Give it another fit. It's been kind of a strange thing, you know. I had to put a little veneer, a little wedge shaped piece here because there was a gap, and there was also a gap right down here. This whole side had a gap, so I put in this strip. And this is like thin veneer, but I had to put a finish on the edge, and I was not able to get lacquer to stick to this lacquer because it's so dirty. But I was able to scuff it up with the Scotch-Brite after putting in the color, the area beyond the color, you know, the lacquer. And I put in the Glue Boost fill and finish, which sticks to almost everything, I guess. And I'll show you again many times, probably every time, but I have an exhaust fan right there that sucks all those accelerator fumes right out, because it's this accelerator right there, that green stuff, that teal colored bottle, Glue Boost Glue Dry Accelerator. I think it's toxic, and it's probably a carcinogen, because it don't smell good, and I don't like it. Anyways, another thing I did, and I've done this from time to time, especially on dovetails that don't have a proper shape to them, like this one, simplified dovetails from Martin. I do the same thing, as I put a teeny little strip of veneer right here, and that pulls the very tip of the heel tight to the body after I shape it. So the way I'm going to shape it is I'm going to taper it a little bit. I know it's lumpy now, but I'm gonna wet sand it and hit it with some steel wool, or probably the Scotch-Brite, the gray Scotch-Brite pad. I think that would be very nice. I think that would be very nice indeed. So, like I said, I'm going to taper this to a point. So now, the highest point of this veneer shim is right here at the tip. And it should pull the heel tight to the body. You almost have to do this on a simplified dovetail. See, this isn't what they call a compound dovetail, where it has a rounded shape down here. You know, usually the tip of the dovetail has an angle like this, and this one's flat. So it's not a true dovetail in my sense of you know, what Martin and Gibson do all the time. Even what harmonies don't have this type of shape. So let's see how it fits now. Yeah, it really pulls in nice and tight now on the treble side, but on the bass side it's still kind of shifty. And this technique will work on your like harmonies and stuff too. If you're new at neck resetting, and this always happened to me when I was, it still happens now, but you'll get it so it's fitting just right and the angle's good and all that, but it just isn't like super tight right here at this very tip, and it's annoying, and it's not very comforting either. So I use gel CA glue. I use it for the shims. I mean, you can take me to court if you want to, because I know it's completely illegal in guitar repair. But no, there's a guy that I follow, Brian Kimsey, and this is what he does. And he does a lot of Martin neck resets, and this is the quick, easy way, efficient. It's not going to fall off. The neck is not going to fall off the guitar, I'll tell you that much. Just because I use gel super glue on the dovetail. I'm not going to glue the neck. The actual wood to wood is going to be glued with fish glue. Because this guitar is very contaminated and dirty. And it's old, and fish glue is the best glue for contaminated joints. Contaminated meaning dirty joints. Anytime I've got another dirty joint up here at the headstock. The headstock veneer has come off, and we're going to use fish glue on that because there's a lot of dirt gotten into there. Guarantee. So this accelerator I can use in hidden spots of the guitar. It will blush, turn everything white, and no one's going to see this. I only use the Glue Boost aerosol accelerator on finish repairs that everybody's going to see, and it's toxic, so I don't use it all the time. Anyways, I think it's toxic. I presume that it's toxic, but I'm not going to do some kind of chemical analysis on it for everybody. I just know by instinct that you shouldn't breathe something that makes you want to gag. Plus I've got a little gap between the body and this fretboard extension thing here too. So I cut this little piece of bird's eye maple veneer. I'm going to glue it in, and that will fill the void. But it will also keep the neck. It'll keep me from having to clamp this extension down to the body so much where it has too much fall away. Don't want too much fall away, just a tad, just a skosh. So that's getting glued down in this vise. I've got that guitar in that vise. So the reason I put it like this again is because there was a finish repair going on over here, episode 1, and it's really bumpy and stuff. I need to wet sand this, level it all out, buff it out, make it all shiny and new looking. You'll see it. Yeah. See the repair? Looks all weird. I'm gonna wet sand that. And then she'll be looking good. Now put the neck on. I did 600, 800, and 1000 wet sanded. Now I've got the gray Scotch Brite pad. I put that in the realm of like 1200 grit sandpaper. Now I'll go to 1500. 2000 I'll use, and I'll show you. This is the 1500. This is all the StewMac wet sandpaper. Gets out the scratches from the previous grit. 2000 coming up. And my secret weapon is the Trizact pad. It's 3000 grit. I use a little bit of Murphy's oil soap. And that's the last abrasive that I'll use before I go to the compound. And then I might just use one compound, because I don't want to make this guitar too shiny. The rest of it's quite dull and dirty. And I'll use the Ultra Cut compound. This is the extra heavy cut, 105. This is on a Viva paper towel. Paper towel talk here. If you're doing any buffing, you'll want to use like the Scott's blue paper towels or this Viva. They're very soft and they have lint. They leave lint behind, so don't use them for the glue boost, but definitely use them if you're cleaning and polishing. So I keep 2 different kinds of paper towels ready to go, and I use them frequently, both different kinds, for different purposes. That got really shiny really fast. Can you see that? Here you can see, I'm not too worried that it's not perfectly, factory fresh. It's a little bumpy, but it's glossy and clean, and it has a finish on it. And I think it's good enough. Nothing needs to be perfect here. It's not going into a museum. I actually decided to go in and take some of that gloss off of there. It was just too shiny. And I'm putting out my fish glue. I'm going to glue it in. Didn't know I was going to be gluing this in so soon, but I think everything's looking good. Just going to do this one clamp. One clamp will do her. Gluing the headstock veneer back onto the headstock was part of the repair also. And as I'm getting the very last of the veneer glued back on, you'll notice there's a discrepancy between the edge here and the lacquer over here. There's evidence on the bottom side here that there was a thin layer of lacquer along this that is just chipped off over the years. So I'm going to repair that. And I glued that back on with fish glue. Once again, here I'm going in for the Bordeaux dye. And the Mix-All red pigment. here's the other side where you can see the original lacquer and where it's chipped off. I forgot to mention the carrier for this color is shellac. It's the Zinsser spray shellac. Just squirt it in the cup and add your color. It's in my little cup. It's taken 2 coats. Finally found a way of holding the guitar where these things don't go swiveling out of place. You know, the shafts were designed to swivel, so they tend to swivel a lot. And if you just lay it flat on a table, the headstock's kicked up like this, and they all slide this way. And I was watching Mike McConville, and he was saying how he would never need to put a guitar in a vise for this and that. He flipped the guitar into some position, kind of like this, and I saw him do that, and I went, yeah, there are a lot of different ways you can hold the guitar in this thing. Real quick, I just threw it on there, lifted that up, and I'm ready to drill these holes in here for these new tuners. But I'd also like to show you this new apron that's looking good. And I want to say thanks to all you guys for tuning in over the last couple months and all that. I got a lot of new subscribers, like 500 new subscribers, and God, tens of thousands of views on my Gibson video from last year. I think over the last 28 days I've had over 63,000 views with over 6,000 watch time hours and 465 new subscribers. So just wanted to say hey to y'all. Thanks for tuning in. I usually don't give my opinions on much stuff other than these tools, these workstations that I have, and then a lot of the StewMac tools. I'll always give my opinions about that, but you know, I'm never going to say something like Guild sucks or Epiphones should be burned in a fire pit or something like that, because that's not my way. But I appreciate all the comments, even those crazy opinionated ones, and we'll get these tuners on here now. Wow, those are a major upgrade. Woohoo! Next, I'll pull the frets and put in the new fret wire. Just want to show you what's working for me here on this fret pulling. I wick a little naphtha into the fret slots that lubricates the fret tang. I go in with my old school fret pullers. I hate those new ones. And I just barely grab the end of it, giving it a little swivel as I grab. And then I go along the entire length of the fret, and I haven't had one bit of chip out yet. Watch this one chip. No chip out yet. So right at the very, very end, little swivel as I push the pliers together. Entire length. And no chip out. I did also score with the X-Acto blade the length of each fret on either side of it. I guess we could call that the Woodford way. I saw that first on Ted Woodford's, and it does seem to help. I don't know how anybody can use those new StewMac fret pullers. I use them for other things, not for frets. Maybe I got a bad pair, I don't know. 90% of the stuff I get from StewMac's good stuff, and I enjoy it. And I do enjoy those for other things. I use them for trimming little veneers and stuff. Notice how when I put this notched straight edge here, with the neck being completely flat between the 1st and 12th frets, we've got a bit of fall away here. That's not the way it was when I first took the neck off. There was actually a ski jump, and there was a lot of air gap and space between the straight edge and the fretboard in this area here. So what I had to do to get this bent back down while the neck was off is I heated it up with a clothing iron. I put the iron right here for about 15-20 minutes, and I put a silicone heating pad on the bottom side, and that pad got really hot, so I had to like unplug it a bunch, just, you know, like briefly turn it on and off. Anyways, once it got hot, I flipped the whole thing over and put the guitar neck in the Total Vise number 7 over here, up here closer to the nut. And while the neck was upside down, I rested this area on the bench and the nut area into the vise. I put a bag of sand under the heel here, about the 12th fret, and I put a 12-pound weight on top of that bag of sand, and I let it sit for an hour, and I came back and it had bent down and stayed down. So just wanted to let you know, if you want to heat treat a piece of wood to get it to stay, it's really important that you get it up to about at least 200, if not 300 degrees. That way the wood memory is kind of corrected and resets itself. Because there's no way you're going to bend a piece of wood very well with these two big thick pieces laminated together like that. I'm going to penetrate that glue line right here with heat. So because I was able to bend this back down with heat, and this part of the neck is completely flat, I barely spent any time sanding it. I'm really just cleaning it up with the sandpaper, maybe 5 minutes worth. And the beauty of that isn't that it saved me time, because I know you're all concerned about how much time I'm wasting, but this original Brazilian rosewood, if I were to just leave that ski jump up and just sit here for an hour hogging this wood down, I'm never going to get that wood back. This is the original Brazilian fretboard, and I just want to barely skim off, you know, just an eyelash of material just to get it nice and cleaned up for my new frets, so my new frets will seat in here. And that's that's my biggest concern here, is that I don't have to waste a lot of this good wood, because it is good. Wood is good. To find out, this Dynaglide stuff works really good for the tools when doing fret work. This is a diamond file. I'm going to go over those edges now. Moved her back over to the string tech to put the tailpiece on, but also we're going to clean the pickup covers. of grease and grime. This guitar is so dirty. Very dirty. Boy, she looks thirsty, doesn't she? Let's give her a little drink. Not only that, but take that. I still have to polish them, but it just looks so dry. Well, here it is. I just finished up the frets. Look at that nice fretboard. And we're ready to give her a test run. I got to put the pick guard back on there. It's laying around here somewhere. And I need to touch up a little bit. Sometimes I touch up around the neck joint with I brush on a little lacquer, but man, I got a really good fit this time. I'm still going to brush in just a little bit, just because that's the way they did it at the factory. They brushed on a big old little bead of lacquer, or actually they sprayed it after the neck was on, so that's why it's all coated with lacquer around the joint. And I've got to do a little sanding work, but let's give her a listen. Thanks for sticking around for this neck reset video, the Guild Starfire 3. And just want to let you know, this guitar, it has slightly shorter, maybe an eyelash shorter than a regular Gibson scale. So it's like a little under 24 3/4, but it has a 9.5-inch radiused fretboard, which is kind of like a modern Fender radius to the fretboard. And one other thing I did to tidy things up was I just recrowned the frets. I've got the action at 4/64 on the bass side and 3/64 on the treble side, and it's really nice. No buzz. I've got 5/1000ths of an inch relief in the neck at the 6th fret, which is really nice for now, but I'm going to recheck it in a week and make sure that it stays there, or I might make a slight adjustment before I ship it back up to Virginia. Another thing I did was I brushed on a little bit of clear finish over the top of that cherry red or Bordeaux colored stain that I brushed on around the edges, so it looks real nice now. And there's one correction I'd like to tell you about. When I was doing the geometry and I was writing down all that math, I wrote down 12.5 inches from the neck to body joint to the bridge. That was a typo. It was actually more like 11 1/8. I must have taken the measurement from the 12th fret to the bridge. But anyways, I realized that after I was re-watching some of the footage, and wondered why I need to make another, trim off a little bit more at the heel. So let's give the neck pickup a listen here.